The middle child. I am the middle child of the family. I think it is nice in some ways. I have an older sister from whom I can borrow clothes from if she lets me. I get to meet my older sister's friends, although sometimes they think that I am too young to be with them. I have a younger brother. He is cute, but sometimes I have to babysit him. There are good things and bad things about being the middle child. My sister is the eldest child. She was the first child, so she spent time alone with my parents. She got lots of attention when she was first born. They took lots and lots of pictures of her. All her clothes and toys were brand new. I got her hand-me-downs. My parents were the strictest with her. They had lots of rules for her to follow. She is the first child, so they want her to be perfect. My younger brother is the baby of the family. I think that we all spoil him. We let him get away with some things that he shouldn't get away with. His room is always messy, and my mother never gets mad about that. She gets upset with me if my room is messy. She tells me that I'm old enough to keep a nice, clean room. It's no good thinking about which position you would like to hold in the family. You really don't have a choice about that. I think I like being the middle child. I can relate to my older sister and my younger brother. Yes, I think the middle is probably a good place to be.
Elementary school. I go to Gainsborough Public Elementary School. I am in grade 8. I am known as the King Queen of the school this year. I feel very grown up. I love being the oldest kid in the school. My friends and I are told that we are examples to the younger kids in the school. That means we need to be good. I remember looking up to the grade 8 kids when I was younger. I remember thinking how big and wise they seemed to be. Now that I'm in grade 8, I hope that the younger kids see me as wise. I want to be a music teacher or maybe a nurse. My school counselor helps me plan for high school. I am nervous because I know I will not feel like the king anymore. Things will be so different. I am excited because I will be meeting so many new people. I am looking forward to my graduation. I will wear a pink silky dress. My shoes are a light pink too. My date's name is Chad. He is very nice. He is a good friend. I have known Chad since I was a little girl. I know that my future will be a bright one. I will miss all of my friends, but I know we will see each other again someday. A rainy day. The clouds were very gray. There was a loud boom that came from the sky. A bolt of lightning struck down a tree. All of a sudden, buckets of rain came pouring down. Jane and Bill were walking in a park when the rain started. Jane wanted to take pictures of the flowers, but the rain got her camera wet. She had to put it away so that it wouldn't get ruined. Jane was going to hide under a big tree to stay dry, but Bill told her that was not a safe idea. He said that she could get hurt if the lightning hit the tree. The tree could break and fall on her, or the lightning could even hit her. The air was very chilly. Jane and Bill put on their sweaters and raincoats to keep warm. Jane took her umbrella out and put it up. They both walked under it to stay dry. The ground was really wet and muddy. Bill and Jane were very glad that they remembered to wear their boots. They ran through the puddles, getting mud and water all over the back of their pants. As they were running and having fun, they saw some ducks. There were 5 of them splashing around in a pond. The ducks were not afraid of water. They swim in the water all the time. Jane and Bill saw some big bullfrogs near the pond. The frogs jumped into the pond when they heard Jane and Bill coming. After a little while, Jane and Bill decided to go home. They got into some dry clothes. Jane started to sneeze. She had gotten a little bit too wet. Bill noticed that the rain had stopped. "Look outside, Jane," he said. Jane wrapped a blanket around her shoulders and looked outside. There was a beautiful bright rainbow across the sky. Violet, blue, green, yellow, orange, and red, the rainbow shone high in the sky. "I wonder if there's a pot of gold on the other side," Jane asked. She had once been told that leprechauns lived on the other side handing out money to those that made it to the rainbow's end. Bill didn't believe there was a pot of gold. Jane ignored Bill, though, and started off across the field to claim her big pot of money. Let's hope Jane finds her way back home safe and sound with a big pot of gold. Airplane ride. Tasha signed a piece of paper which gave her a chance to win a free airplane ride. She put her name, address, and telephone number on that piece of paper. A few days later she got a telephone call. It was the man that was holding the ticket draw. Tasha didn't think she would win, but the man on the telephone said she did. She listened as the man told her where she would have to go to get her free airplane ride. She had to go near the town of Grimsby. She was allowed to pick a friend to go with her on the airplane ride. Tasha was so happy. She asked her twin sister Tanya to go with her. Tanya was very excited. Neither of them had been on an airplane before. When they got to the airplane center, Tasha and Tanya were nervous. They knew the airplane was small, so that meant only the pilot and them were going to be in the plane. Their mum took a picture of them beside the plane before they left. Tasha and Tanya hopped into the plane. They put their seatbelts on and got ready for takeoff. Tasha got to sit in the very front, right beside the pilot. Tanya sat behind Tasha. The girls laughed nervously as the plane started rolling down the runway. They went faster and faster, trees passing by quickly. There was a powerful surge making everyone's head jerk back. The plane started lifting off the ground. Up, up, and away! They were up off the ground and flying high in the sky. It seemed as though they could get anywhere within a matter of seconds. They flew from Grimsby to Beamsville, where they saw their high school. Then on to St. Catharines, and then Niagara Falls. They even flew over top of their house. They took pictures of their house. They could see their pond from way up there, too. The pilot asked Tasha if she wanted to fly the plane. "Sure," Tasha said. So Tasha took the steering handle and began to fly the plane. She didn't really know how to fly it, so when she pulled the handle down, the plane shot upward. Both of the girls squealed. Tasha leveled the plane and flew smoothly from then on. Soon it was time to go back to Grimsby. The pilot took over again. We braced ourselves as the landing strip got nearer. The landing went smoothly with Tasha and Tanya beaming as they looked out at the ground. They hopped off of the plane, thanked the pilot, and ran to tell their mum about their wonderful experience. A life experience. My friend Lanny and I went to Burger King yesterday. We ordered a big order of French fries and a couple of drinks. Lanny got a strawberry milkshake. I picked out a table near the window so we could look at the people passing by. As we were sitting there, we heard our favorite song, Butterfly, by the band Crazy Town, come on the radio. We looked at each other with big grins on our faces and started singing and dancing. It was great fun. Many people began staring at us, wondering why we were so happy. We didn't care. We just kept on moving and enjoying ourselves. The song ended and we were almost finished our food. We sat and talked about what was happening in our lives. She had just bought 4 new t-shirts for the summer. The new sandals she had gotten for her birthday had given her really bad blisters on the sides of her feet. When she wore other shoes, she had to wear band-aids on the blisters. I told her that I had bought 4 new CDs. I love music. As we finished our conversation, we finished off our drinks. I like going out with Lanny and talking. Lanny is my best friend, and I can talk to her about anything. I am glad I have her to share my life with, even if it is as simple as going to Burger King and eating French fries. Lanny and I are planning to travel together, so we are trying to save our money. Our French fries and drink only came to about $6, so we didn't feel too bad about spending our money. I wonder, though, if McDonald's would have been cheaper.
Methods of transportation. In the modern age, people often travel long distances. Sometimes people travel for reasons related to their work. Sometimes they travel as tourists. And sometimes people travel to visit relatives and friends. There are many different ways that people can travel. Some forms of transportation move people along the ground. Other methods of transportation move people across the water or through the air. Airplanes provide the fastest method of traveling. Modern jet airliners travel at about 1,000 kilometers per hour. These airplanes cruise through the skies almost 10 kilometers above the level of the sea. Jet airplanes allow people to travel great distances in a short time. For example, it is possible to fly across a great ocean, such as the Pacific or the Atlantic, in several hours. Ships were once the only way to travel across the oceans. Before airplanes, it took many weeks or months to travel around the world. Today, many people still travel by ship when crossing smaller bodies of water. Some ships, called ferries, allow people to bring their cars with them onto the ship. Some people also like to travel by ship as part of a holiday. These holiday ships, called cruise ships, stop in several interesting ports along the voyage. Trains are very popular in many places. In some places, such as Japan and France, trains travel at high speeds of about 300 kilometers per hour. These trains move people throughout the country very quickly and efficiently. Trains are also used to move people over short distances, such as the trip from one's home to one's workplace. Buses and cars are also widely used for transportation. Some people travel by bus or car for only short trips, but sometimes buses and cars are used for very long journeys. In North America, many people have driven across Canada or the United States in their cars. The wide, smooth roads allow cars and buses to travel quickly from one place to another. There are many different methods of transportation. Which one do you think is the best?
Sports in Britain.
Having a drink at the local pub, going for a walk in the country, or watching sports on the television. These are all the main ways in which many British people like to relax on weekends or holidays. Such activities tell us about how modern British people like to spend their leisure time. But if you look more closely, we can see that these activities are not just recent inventions, but are deeply rooted in the British culture over many centuries. Today we will talk about some sports which we see played throughout the world and were born in Britain. Let's begin with football. As we all know, Britain is the place of origin of modern football. The idea of sports having seasons, like the football season, also comes from the natural rhythms of an agricultural society, where the timing of harvests and the general weather affected how people spent their time. Football is played in early spring, when the weather is wet and not too cold. In winter, bad weather kept people indoors, and they had not so much work to do on their farm. So, men used to doing hard work, or physical labor, found they needed to release their energy, and so got together regularly to play boisterous and fast games like football. Meanwhile, during the Renaissance, football had been regarded as a rough sport for the aristocratic young men, although all social classes used to join in on the local football match. Today, violence is still associated with football. Football hooligans, supporters of rival teams, sometimes clash before, during and after matches, and run riot through the city or town, breaking windows and beating each other up. Of course, the football violence gets a lot of attention. Nowadays, before some big matches when trouble is expected, police usually patrol the streets, pubs close to the football courts, and some shops, and even lock their doors and shutter their windows. The Football Association was set up in 1863, It is the league or association that the major teams compete in, for a trophy title known as the FA Cup. The Football Association puts out a series of measures to control violence, so as to ensure a successful match. A more gentle sport that is very popular in the world is tennis. Wimbledon, a town near London, is where the world's top players gather to compete. It has been one of the major sports events of the British calendar. As we all know, tennis was invented in Britain, but few people know tennis owes its origins to the church. According to the records, by the mid-15th century, people were making a game of bouncing a ball off the side of their local churches or cathedrals, first using the hand and later a racket. Football, archery, tennis, and other sports were frequently played in churchyards. In England, the sound of summer is said to be the sound of leather on the willow, the ball hitting a cricket bat. Cricket was one of the very first team sports in Britain to be played according to the same organised rules nationally. Before the Victorian era, and in modern Britain, people from all walks of life played cricket. But in the 19th century, cricket became a sport associated with the upper classes. It was a kind of snob game, played by boys who attended public schools. And then the sport became popular in the public school system, in the colonies of Australia, New Zealand, India, and Pakistan. British is full of idioms to the sport. Those who are not familiar with the game will be baffled by it, such as, "That's not cricket" means that's not fair, and to play the game means to be fair. The true sport of British kings and queens is not skiing or golfing, but horse racing. National horse races have been held throughout Britain for hundreds of years. The horse at the heart of medieval life was a symbol of authority and wealth and necessary to travelling, hunting, and warfare. The sport of riding a horse is still considered rather snobbish, or an aristocratic sport, because the average British family cannot afford to own a horse. Meanwhile, there are stables which rent horses and offer riding courses at affordable prices. So certainly, almost everyone can afford to place a bet on a horse race now and then. As a sport of kings and commoners alike enjoy betting on horses. The Queen, who likes riding, also likes betting on horses, and often attends some major races. Although she is extremely rich, she gets very excited when the horse she has placed her money on wins. There are two kinds of horse racing. The flat race, where horses and riders compete on a flat oval track. And the steeplechase, which is racing either across the countryside or around a course designed to represent the obstacles you might overcome in the countryside. The Grand National, which is set up in 1837 and is the world's most famous steeplechase. However, some horses are usually injured and badly hurt. Horses are sometimes shot. Animal lovers cannot accept that animals should be hurt and killed for people's entertainment. The biggest social event related to horse racing is the Royal Ascot, where people dress up and show off how fashionable they are, as well as watch the races and place their bets. Women especially wear very delicate and exotic hats and dress designed for the occasion. Television and newspapers will often comment on their outfits.